Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
I had a bug period like every kid. I just never outgrew mine. Dr. Edward O. Wilson. Dr. Edward O. Wilson, Who Saw the World Through the Selfless Ants, Part 1 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
Go ahead and make war so that your family members will detest you even more than before.
When greeting friends in the early hours of a blessed day in Eswatini, one might say kusile, that's good morning, in the Swazi language. Beloved viewers, I am Ayanda. With joy and admiration, the sincere Emaswati people wish that you may continuously thrive in God's wisdom and divine embrace. Welcome to Dr. Edward O. Wilson, Who Saw the World Through the Selfless Ants, Part 1 of 2. Dr. Edward Osborne Wilson, often referred to as E.O. Wilson, was a world-renowned American biologist, naturalist, and twice Pulitzer Prize-winning author for his books on human nature in 1979 and The Ants in 1991. Often described as Darwin's natural heir, he was an entomologist and one of the world's leading authorities in myrmecology, which is the study of ants. Through his research and knowledge, E.O. Wilson recharted the course of Darwinian science. Dr. Wilson diversified his research into many other scientific disciplines. In so doing, he introduced the world to terms such as sociobiology and biodiversity, opening up pathways, he believed, for the discovery of the very nature of existence through empirical practices, theorizing that human traits such as aggression and altruism had genetic roots. He ultimately championed environmental preservation. In the course of his lifelong career, he discovered that the rapid decline of species was caused by unprecedented ecological degradation. Known by his many friends, colleagues, and fans as simply Ed, Dr. E.O. Wilson was a man dedicated to scientific investigation for practically his entire life, from boyhood until his recent passing at the age of 92. He once said this of his untiring fascination with the natural world.
I had a bug period like every kid. I just never outgrew mine.
Born in Birmingham, Alabama in 1929, E.O. Wilson grew up surrounded by the natural environment of the United States of America's Deep South. At age 7, he had an accident that left him completely blind in his right eye. This led to an early fixation with the usually overlooked lives of smaller creatures, in particular those of insects. Young Ed became automatically inclined to notice the little beings around him in the woods, fields, and riverbanks, and was particularly drawn to the fascinating world of butterflies and ants. By the age of 11, Ed Wilson had decided to become an entomologist, a scientist that concentrates specifically on the study of insects. He had already set himself the goal of classifying every ant species in Alabama. When he was 13 years old, Ed attracted the attention of local academics by identifying a colony of fire ants of South American origin near the port of Mobile, Alabama. He spent uncounted hours observing insects and other fauna in a virtually untainted swamp near Bruton, and realized that this was truly what he wanted to spend the rest of his life doing. Some years later, the same species of fire ants he had previously discovered in Mobile was now a threat to agricultural crops as they began to advance across the state. Ed Wilson was now a freshman at the University of Alabama and chose to survey their progress, while simultaneously employed by the Alabama Department of Conservation. The study was completed by the time he was 20 and became the basis of his first scientific publication in 1949. A year later, upon completing his master's degree, he briefly studied at the University of Tennessee before being admitted to Harvard University in Boston, Massachusetts, as a doctoral student.
Just as the Buddha cautioned us, when we eat meat, we are eating the flesh of our children and grandchildren. We are eating the flesh of our mothers and our fathers. We are eating our own planet Earth. The respected, most venerable Thot Nyok Han, vegan.
Wise viewers, let's step outside to admire nature's creations and thank them all for their unconditional love. We'll be right back here on Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to Dr. Edward O. Wilson, who saw the world through the Selfless Ants, Part 1 of 2. While pursuing his doctoral degree at Harvard University, Ed Wilson soon achieved junior fellow status, which enabled him to conduct field studies overseas, in places such as Cuba, Mexico, Australia, New Guinea, numerous Pacific islands, and several other locations across the globe. In 1955, he attained his PhD, and the year after, he became a permanent member of the Harvard University faculty, remaining there and making it his base for his entire career. Initially, he was involved with the taxonomy of ants, classifying and naming new species. Thereafter, he developed an understanding of their microevolution, that is, their change over time into a new species. In Dr. Wilson's personal life, he also married his lifelong companion, Irene Kelly, around this time. The couple had a daughter and remained together until she passed away just a few months before his own passing in 2022. In 1961, Dr. E. O. Wilson's The Nature of the Taxon Cycle and the Melanesian Ant Fauna was published, re-emphasizing some of his earlier scientific conclusions published in 1959. Through his study of Pacific Island species of ants, his work hypothesized that there is a relationship between ecological changes. Dr. Wilson had noted different patterns of development between colonizing and endemic species in evolutionary shifts. Charles Darwin wrote a famous and revolutionary 1859 publication on the theory of evolution, entitled On the Origin of Species, proposing that species evolved as a consequence of their relationship to their changing natural environment. Dr. Ed Wilson's research added to this, documenting that ants also evolved because of group interaction and duration as members of the community. Formulated and named by Dr. Wilson, the taxon cycle has also been observed in species of bird people and other insects. E.O. Wilson soon became one of the leading scientists, working with ant species, and made many revolutionary discoveries. The ant kingdom has a highly organized society of multiple generations and a hierarchical caste system. In collaboration with mathematician Dr. William Bossert, Dr. Wilson showed that ants communicate via their sense of smell. They identified chemical compounds within ants, now known as pheromones, which they said evolved in ants specifically for this purpose.
Ants alone make up upwards of 2/3 of the weight of all insects. They dominate the environment, and they do it by complex social behavior. And yet most people don't know the slightest thing about them. Ants themselves are very bizarre. And the more you study them, the stranger their civilizations seem to you. In my lifetime, I have discovered 450 species of ants. The fact is that we don't know how much is out there because the estimated number varies between 10 million and over 100 million.
Many of E.O. Wilson's hypotheses on ants that were first developed in his Melanesian island studies were tested in the Florida Keys in collaboration with mathematician and ecologist Robert MacArthur. Their research findings were published in 1967 as a book, The Theory of Island Biogeography, and this is still the definitive scientific text on the subject. Dr. Wilson was awarded the 1990 Crawford Biosciences Prize by the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences for his work. After becoming curator of entomology at Harvard's Museum of Comparative Zoology and publishing The Insect Societies in 1971, E.O. Wilson authored the book that would come to define his career, entitled Sociobiology: The New Synthesis. In this literary work, Dr. Wilson began to apply his theories about ant societies to large vertebrates, including humans. This leap in scientific thought from insects to humans was initially highly controversial, yet made feasible by the explanation of the scientific phenomenon known as eusocial behavior. Eusocial behavior occurs in only some 20 known evolutionary lines on Earth. Eu means the best or most advanced. Eusocial behavior originated in the study of bees and involves complex hierarchical societies and decision-making processes to benefit the group as a whole. E.O. Wilson described it as the best or most advanced stage in the evolution of social behavior. Decades later, in 2010, together with theoretical biologists Dr. Martin Nowak and Dr. Karina Ternita, Dr. E.O. Wilson showed that kin selection, which proposes fittest genes survival logic and is the basis of Darwin's famous theory, is mathematically impossible. Instead, they favor group selection, which includes vital impulses such as altruism and selflessness as the fundamental evolutionary driver. During a conference in 2009, Supreme Master Ching Hai mentioned how ants are brilliant and creative beings.
So even ants, they're intelligent. Look at the way they build their city and their palace. We could not do that compared to our size. They're building, like a skyscraper by their own hand only. But they talk to each other even. Even ants talk to each other. Fish, people talk to each other. They do lead intelligent lives and they all have souls, consciousness in them.
With awe, we look forward to learning more about Dr. Edward O. Wilson and his wondrous lessons learned from the brilliant ants in our next episode. For more information on Dr. Edward O. Wilson, please visit eowilsonfoundation.org.
Yeah, continue to eat a lot of meat so you can spend a lot of time and a lot of money in the hospital and a lot of time in hell after.
Thank you, precious viewers, for your delightful company today. Join us again on Sunday, September 4th for part 2 of Dr. Edward O. Wilson, who saw the world through the selfless ants. Coming up next is Tibetan Highland Barley Meals, part 2 of 2, Vegan Nyayatsatug, palm-rolled fish-shaped noodle soup, right after noteworthy news here on Supreme Master Television. May all sentient beings be forever cherished and respected.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/MOS.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule et suprememastertv.com/MOS.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule и suprememastertv.com/MOS.
Нашите предавания предлагат много езици. Моля вижте suprememastertv.com/schedule и suprememastertv.com/MOS.